Hello oddities, welcome to a new video, and I'm already laughing, I'm already smiling, because I can't wait to talk about this movie. I just saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and this is quite possibly the funniest, most entertaining movie of the year, and I don't even know if it's like intentionally or not intentionally, but this movie, I don't want it to be labeled as anything other than a comedy, because it is hilarious. Now, I am not a huge fan of FNAF currently. I used to be, for sure, huge, mega fan of the series, but as time went on, you know, I grew up, and so I don't really care about the franchise anymore. But this movie was announced when I did care. In fact, I'm pretty sure this movie was announced before I even knew what FNAF was. So it's kind of crazy that I went through this whole, like, character arc of loving FNAF and then, like, it kind of dying out for me before this movie even came out. And that's like 8 years. Like, this movie was like announced in 2015 and is finally out in 2023. That's kind of crazy, but you know, this movie was very nostalgic, I guess. When I watched it, you know, there was a lot of little references, little things that made me just go, huh, that was my childhood. But even just beyond that, this movie is just so funny and entertaining. Like, it doesn't really even try to be a horror movie, which is something I've seen a lot of people like criticize the movie for, that it wasn't suspenseful enough, which, you know, I can understand and I agree with. Like, it wasn't really a horror movie at all. But since when has FNAF even been scary? Like, FNAF hasn't been scary since, like, the first game, really. Like, the first night of the first game. Like, after that point, as soon as you get jump scared, basically, you just go, oh, that's it. And then the game isn't scary anymore. And none of the games have been scary since then. So, like, it's not really that big of a deal to me. But just not even taking into account, like, nostalgia or my history with the games, this movie is hilarious. Just, like, the animatronics, like, okay, the practical effects are really, really good, okay? Like, there's no denying that. Like, these are completely practical animatronics. I'm sure there's a few CGI, like, enhancements and stuff, but for the most part, completely practical, which is an amazing effect. I don't want to, like, take away from, like, the people who made them or whatever. I think it's, like, Jim Henson's, like, puppet creature shop or whatever you want to call it. It's really good, all right? There's no denying that. But at the same time, when I'm seeing these characters, like, walking around, looking at the camera, doing stuff, I'm sorry, even when it's supposed to be scary, it just makes me laugh. And I don't know why. I think it's just like, I don't know. I can't even describe it. It's just like, I don't know. I think the reason the game worked a little bit better was just because, like, they're completely static. They're not moving. They're just looking at the camera. But, like, as soon as they start moving, and especially just, like, I don't know, seeing these, like, characters walking around, it's just so funny to me. Like, I can't even describe it, really. I'm trying to describe it, but I can't. Like, it's just so hilarious. And that's even when they're trying to be scary. When the movie stops trying to make them scary, guys, I was dying laughing. I was crying of laughter when these characters, when they stopped trying to shoot them as scary and started shooting them as just, like, characters in the movie, because that's usually how these, like, horror movie monster flicks go. Like, at the beginning, they're, like, in the shadows and stuff, but as the movie goes on, you start to see them a bit more, which is just a natural thing. And when they do it in this movie, bro, like, okay, I won't, like, try and bash on the movie or anything. Some of it definitely was, like, intentionally funny. Like, there's no denying that. Like, the way the animatronics do stuff, the things that they do, like, they were definitely trying to be funny in some parts, but there's also parts where they're just kind of, like, hanging out, and it's still funny. Like, it's still hilarious. And I can't stop, like, thinking about it and, like, laughing about it. But anyways, other than the animatronics, the movie's plot is pretty basic, I guess. You got the main character, Mike Schmidt, I think it's Mike Schmidt. I don't know, that's the name of the character from the first game, so I'm just gonna roll with that. He has, like, a sister, and, like, he's trying to find a job, and he becomes a security guard. And then there's Five Nights at Freddy's. It's not really 5 nights of action at Freddy's. Like, I'd say there's only, like, 2 nights where stuff actually happens. Like, the first few, like, just kind of just hangs out there and, like, yeah. But, you know, there are some nights which are super, super fun, super cool. Now, I have seen a lot of people criticize this movie for having, like, too much plot, I guess, and just, like, focusing a bit more on the plot than, like, I guess they would have wanted to focus more on the scares and the horror aspect of it. I didn't really mind it that much because the movie was entertaining enough and the characters and stuff were entertaining and enough, like, funny stuff happened in between like all the plot stuff that it made it worthwhile getting through all the plot in order to get to the funny things. So I didn't really care that much. Now there were some changes to not even just the game's like lore or backstory, which there was a lot of changes for, but even in just like the structure of like how the game plays out versus the movie, there were a lot of changes, which of course has to happen because when you're adapting a video game to a movie, video game is obviously a different medium, a different complete structure when you have like player interactivity and all that stuff. So converting it into a movie, a lot of change needs to happen, especially for a game like Five Nights at Freddy's, where the gameplay is literally just like sitting in a room, looking at cameras, shutting doors. For some reason, the doors in this movie like aren't mechanical; they're just like normal doors, which I don't know. I feel like that's too big of a like change, I guess, from the original source material, because you know the mechanical doors, that's like an iconic part of the first FNAF game, and it's like, whatever, just normal doors in this one. I didn't really like that. Oh god, my fanboy side is starting to come out from all those years of being obsessed with FNAF. It's starting to come back. I swear, I'm not going to go into a FNAF phase because of this movie. I refuse to do that. But yeah, mostly for the first game, you only spend time with this one character, Mike Schmidt, but multiple characters throughout the movie join in on the action. There's the Vanessa character, there's his sister, there's a bunch of like people who just like break into the place, and that scene mostly just felt like a way to pad the body count because, you know, obviously people want kills in these movies so that James Agent East of Dead Meat can make his freaking kill count videos on movies, so they just add in random scenes of people dying, which, you know, is fun, I guess, but it does feel like weird with the pacing. It kind of just feels like, okay, we're grinding to a halt just to have this one scene. But, you know, the animatronics are in it, so it makes it worth it, even if it's at the expense of the pacing and the plot. I don't really care. Speaking of the pacing, it felt kind of weird at points. There were definitely moments where I thought, okay, this is the climax, this is the end, but then it just wasn't. So I guess that was kind of weird. But at the same time, I was like thinking in my head, okay, this is a short movie, so maybe that was just my brain playing weird tricks on me. But I feel like they do like some stuff that feels like it would be at the end of a movie during like the middle portions. So it did feel kind of weird, but like I said, animatronics are funny. I don't really mind. Seriously, that's the main point I want to get out of with this movie. It's just like, animatronics are so funny. Like, they are memes at this point. They are memes. And this movie propels their meme status to new levels. I love them so much in this movie. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot to talk about with the movie, especially considering the fact that it's a non-spoiler review. I can't really get into too much detail. I guess there's Matthew Lillard's character. Like, I can't go into much detail with him because spoilers, but you know, he's very cool, and they do reference Scream. And guys, when they did that, I screamed, honestly. Like, reference to the first Scream movie, which obviously Matthew Lillard played one of the ghost faces in that movie. That's a spoiler, but the movie's been out for like almost 30 years, so I don't really care. But yeah, other than that, cinematography, action, if you want to call it action, I guess. There's action. You know, music, all that stuff is fine. Like, just fine. Like, everything other than the animatronics is just fine. But the animatronics are what make this movie worth watching. Not because they're like scary or cool or anything, but just because they're so funny. They're so hilarious. And I can't take them seriously. I could watch so many more of these movies. I could watch movies of it just the animatronics. Like, they don't even have to speak or anything. Like, just the animatronics, and I would be satisfied for an hour and a half. I want more. I want a FNAF 2. I want a FNAF 3. I want a FNAF 4. I want so many of these movies. Alright? I love them. This movie also has a lot of fun little nods to the FNAF games, the community, stuff like that. There's obviously quite a few YouTuber cameos, which is really funny to watch. There are some references to other characters from the games, even characters that aren't even like canon to the games. Like, there are like fan-made characters in this movie, which is really, really weird. Like, specifically one fan-made character that was like a hoax from the first game is like one of the not characters, like it's not really like one of the animatronics, but like they do like show up in a certain capacity, and it's really, really weird. But yeah, I got like nothing else to say about this movie. If you guys liked FNAF, like at any point in your life, you should watch this movie and you will have a good time. If you know nothing about FNAF or nothing about the franchise, I don't know how much you're going to enjoy this movie. But I know for all past and current FNAF fans, like, this movie will be super entertaining. So definitely go see it. But yeah, remember to like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, check out my main channel if you haven't already. And with that being said, that's it for this video, my fellow Watch These. I'll see you next time.